81.com and start earning great money as soon as next week.
Here we go.
You guys, CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com. We're going to keep it tight. Miss Scott and Greg, Greg Caden, are you there?
I'm here. Greg is here.
Oh, great, guys. We can't even let any other callers come in on this. Asher just said how surreal this moment is for him. And I just want to say very quickly, I lost a child. I was shaking as I was reading Murder Rap. These are babies in my eyes. So back to you, Greg. Murder Rap is your book. And again, very quickly, where can it be found? Tell us, please.
You can get it online at Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com for the time being.
I see. Really quickly, Greg, what gave you the courage to do this? Because that's to say the least after reading your book. Talk to us about that.
It was actually not as difficult a decision to make as one might think. I mean, I really looked at it from the perspective of who's the most important person in this situation, and it's really about Afeni Shakur.
The parents.
It's about the parents.
True indeed.
Say it again, my Mrs. Shakur, and oh my God, Biggie's mom. Yes, thank you for saying that.
Bless
And
both
they
of those.
deserve, and they and their families and their fans, they just deserve to know everything that there is to know. I mean, if it's not compromising any ongoing investigation, and that's an important point I think I need to make, is that I knew that both these cases were shelved and that there was no proactive investigation. And so with that being said, I felt that, I had an obligation to divulge to them and to everybody else who has an interest in this case what we knew, because otherwise they wouldn't know. And I was, in fear that time would just go on and that Valletta and Afeni would potentially go to their graves not knowing everything that they deserve to know about these cases.
Ms. Scott, come in on that. What's your thoughts?
Well, I interviewed Valletta Wallace at length, and she is all about finding justice, for her son. Afeni Shakur is more about keeping his legacy alive, and she knows she can't bring him back. So she's not about the investigation. She's about keeping his music and who he was. He was so big, he was bigger than life, Tupac was, and that's what Afeni seems to be about. But not, Valletta would like to see justice meted out with her son's investigation.
Well, I'm just honored to hear both of their names in this moment. Again, I go out, my heart goes out, because when you buried a child, it is no place anybody wants to be. And I say that Mr. Shakur, Tupac Shakur, was a prophet. Asher, Sister Asia.
I something that we were talking about again on the Murder Rap group. For those that do pick up the book, again, be sure to join this group because it's really cool to have. I mean, both Kathy, you and Greg, y'all are both. I mean, Greg started the group. Kathy's there.
Wow.
Big Frank Alexander, who's also been a part of trying to bring truth to the situation. Like, it's a good opportunity for fans that are serious about wanting to try to understand what happened to ask questions directly. But something that came up that Sean Sparks had brought up was for the average fan that reads this book, you realize that at the time that you wrote it and at the time that you were going through the investigation that you were not a fan of Tupac's music or big into rap music or hip hop or anything like that. You were just trying to do the job and get the investigation solved. So can you maybe speak a little to that in kind of the way that you answer Sean Sparks' question for the fans out there that may be reading the material now or what they can expect?
Please.
Yeah, as a homicide investigator, you don't really approach your investigation by, necessarily who the victim was or, what their politics were or what their lifestyle was. That is not really the compelling issue. You're just trying to figure out what happened so that you can be as objective as possible. As soon as you start trying to incorporate your own feelings and perceptions and biases about things, it'll interfere with your ability to objectively to investigate a case. So I was not a rap fan. I was not a Tupac fan, and so I can just be unemotional about it and just look at what is factual, what can we say happened, so that we can bring the case forward, kind of like uncorrupted.
Mm-hmm. Well, for I just like to say again, a convicted felon I am, will always walk this slide the rest of my life with that title. Master's in clinical psychology I have, and anyone that you implicated in this book that is not guilty, believe me, I believe that they will step up and talk about what's your concerns around legal issues. And Ms. Scott, were you concerned about any of that? I mean, talk to us very quickly about. Because, there's some strong statements in this murder rap book, my brother. Very strong.
Yeah, they are. And I don't concern myself with legal issues. I concern myself with reporting what I believe to be, for me, this is what I believe to be the case. And, if I'm going to be inhibited or intimidated by the legal issues, then, then what's the point of doing it? I have to put out there the information that I believe to be true, and I have a factual basis for it. And, the chips will fall where they may. I just hope that those people that, those people that were involved, at some point hold themselves accountable.
Exactly.
And that's all we can hope for.
As a journalist, I do concern myself with legal issues a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure.
My thing is to tell both sides of the story and let the reader decide. I try not to connect the dots too much, but I do think. I mean, just because somebody says they're a killer, or somebody points a finger at a person and says that person is the killer, we have a responsibility. Me as a journalist, I have a responsibility to, tell both sides of the story and get both sides. Let somebody defend themselves in a book.
That's before we go to break here. That's something that
30 seconds.
That would be something to discuss, and we could take some callers from some listeners as well. But we just watched the interview that you did with Swag Music, Greg, about what happens if the event that the stories by Keffe D are not true. That would be really interesting to see how all this plays out.
Yeah, we've got 15 seconds. I just want to say, Sister Asia, when we come back in, before we end the show, your thoughts around the senselessness. I mean, somebody told me young black men being born with a chalk line drawn around their body